Hello and welcome to Gardening at 58 North. So in this video I'd like to give you an introductory tour to my conservatory here. This is where most of my houseplants are going to be living from now on. So I'd like to give you a good tour of the conservatory. Just tell you a bit about the conservatory as well, the construction of it, the kind of growing conditions I can expect to have here, just so you have an idea of what my plants will be growing in. So I'll start with the aspect. So this is mostly west facing. It's very slightly northwest, but it's mainly west. So what that means is we get the sun from around about midday right through to the evening, and then at night time in the summer we get the sun right till 10 o'clock at night. Winter time it won't be quite as good. So the light levels are really good in this place. It doesn't get sun all day because it's not south-facing, but it does get sun all afternoon, and it's still fairly bright in the morning. It's morning at the moment, so the sun's not on it yet, but it's still quite bright, so it's good light levels, partly because the roof, you can see the roof there, it's all transparent polycarbonate. So the construction of this conservatory isn't the highest spec one. It's actually built 30 years ago, so it's quite old, and it's a polycarbonate roof, which tends to be a slightly cheaper type of roof, but it's much thicker, stronger polycarbonate than what you would get on a greenhouse. You can see it's probably got about 30 odd years of dirt on it as well, so I need to clean the outside. I've cleaned the inside, but the outside needs to be cleaned. There's a lot of algae up there, bits of moss and stuff like that. The reason I've been reluctant to do that so far is because it's midsummer, and to be honest, a bit of shading is probably good because it gets so hot in here, and the light was actually burning a lot of my houseplants. So that's something I need to clean later in the year when the light levels die down a bit. As for the rest of the construction of the conservatory, it's PVC panels. So you can see there's kind of like white PVC panels here, and there's PVC panels at the base. So if I pan round, you can see there underneath the windows you've got PVC panels as well, but the majority of this conservatory is actually windows, so again plenty of light, and it's double glazed windows as well, so it's good insulation properties. But because it is a conservatory, it's nowhere near as well insulated as a house, so the temperatures in here will get a little bit cool. But I've had recently a new heating system put in the house, so I should be able to keep this at a decent temperature, at least keep the frost away anyway. So I'll pan round now. So this is the radiator. Not being used much at the moment because it's summertime, but this should give out quite a lot of heat during the winter. That will keep the conservatory above freezing. At the moment I've actually got the thermostat set at 20, so it keeps it really nice and warm in here. It's been going on whenever we get a cold night, but to be honest it keeps the heat quite well at the moment because of the couple of ways that this has been constructed. So at the back here we have this external wall from the house, and this isn't insulated, and our walls are solid concrete. So there's a huge amount of heat that gets stored in that wall, and as it's west facing, we get a lot of sun on here in the evening just before sunset. So this wall actually gets quite hot, warms up during the day. A lot of that heat then comes out at night and keeps the temperatures nice and warm. That won't happen in the winter when we don't have much sunshine. It's going to be too cold for that. So most of the heat in the winter will have to come from the heating system. But at the moment there's so much heat from the sun, it comes out of the wall overnight. That keeps it nice and warm. Also with the flooring, it's actually concrete underneath this carpet, so there's quite a lot of heat in the concrete slab, and that just gets warmed up by the sunshine, and that keeps the warmth as well. It's got a decent thermal store, even though it is a conservatory and the temperatures will fluctuate a lot. There's quite a bit of thermal mass to the side of it and underneath it that will help with keeping the temperature a bit more stable. So there's quite a few upgrades I need to do in here. The carpet, for example, it's a really old stained carpet, and if I'm growing plants and I spill water or if any leaves drop on the floor, it's very hard to clean, and the water is just going to kind of go mouldy on the carpet. So I'm going to get a new flooring put in. I'm just going to go with vinyl. That's basically like lino. It's just like a plastic kind of rubbery material. That means it's going to be easy to wash and clean, and I can just not have to worry too much if I spill any water. I'm not going to damage it. It's going to be completely waterproof. At the moment I have actually got my old kitchen in here, so we recently had to put a new kitchen in, and I'm just using the old kitchen at the moment as a shelving for my plants and for storage underneath. The reason the conservatory is so messy at the moment is because I'm currently in the process of moving into the house. So I moved into the house a few days ago, and we're still renovating it, so there's a lot of mess everywhere, which is why you see quite a few boxes, and the plants aren't all displayed as they should be. So I tend to have my smaller plants up here for now, but I need to completely redesign this conservatory. So what I will probably have is I might have some storage here, but I'm not sure yet. But what I'm definitely going to do is around the outside. Because of where that white PVC plastic is, anything on the ground level doesn't get any direct sunlight unless it's from above. So I can quite easily raise up the height there of the plants, a bit to the height of, similar to the height of where this tomato plant is now. And that will give the plants a bit more height, but also that will make it easier for me to water, and also I can have a lot more storage. So what I'll probably do is I'll build some kind of benching, which will come right around the side here, and it will probably come right up to this corner as well. That'll give me a raised platform, sort of similar to how the kitchen cabinet is, but a lot lower down, probably just a little bit lower than the height of the window, so the height of that table over there. That'll give me storage underneath for all my compost, all my fertilizers, watering cans, pots and things like that. And then on the top, I'm probably going to kind of cover it with some kind of waterproof membrane, so if any water comes out the bottom of the pots, it's not a problem. Because at the moment I don't have enough sources, I'm only limited to how many sources I can have underneath my plant pots, so the water just drains through and it's just going to damage things. So that's going to be a good way for me to not have to worry about the water seeping through at all. I might have some kind of drainage system to collect it. So one of the problems in the conservatory at the moment is the humidity levels. Because there's so many plants in here, I'm probably watering, I would say, about 4 or 6 litres a day of water into the plant pots. And that means 4 to 6 litres of water every day is being evaporated through the plant's leaves into the atmosphere. That's a huge amount of water to go into such a small space, so every morning it's dripping with condensation, so I'm having to open the windows regularly and let that heat out. But in the winter time, I don't really want to be opening the windows all the time because you'll get cold drafts. That won't be good for the plants. It also means the heating bill is going to be much higher, having the heating on all the time just to kind of air out the place and dry the humidity off. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably put a dehumidifier in here, and what I'll do is I'll drill a hole through the bottom of the PVC panels, and I'll have a permanent hose connected. What I can do is I can have a normal dehumidifier and just empty the tray every day, but if I put one in with a hose, that way it just automatically drains outside. I don't have to constantly empty the container all the time, so if I forget or if I'm on holiday, it's not going to fill up and then stop working. Also with a dehumidifier, I can set the humidity level to what I want, and it will just turn on and off as the humidity level gets too high, and just keep the humidity around about where I want it. So I probably want it about 60-70% humidity, quite high humidity, but at the moment it's probably getting close to 90 or 100%, and with that you just get all this condensation problems. Also it causes problems like this here. I've got tomato blight starting to set into this plant, and you can see the high humidity levels are just going to make that tomato blight spread more rapidly. So I do need to keep the humidity levels lower, and I also need to think about the temperature. At the moment the heat isn't too bad because I can just open the window, and also the top windows aren't particularly clean, so that's keeping it from getting too hot. And the wall as well at the back absorbs a nice amount of heat and kind of moderates temperature, so it doesn't seem to get too much above 30 at the moment. But I know in the future it could be a problem. So what I'll probably do is I'll fit an extractor fan. So I think I will probably fit the extractor fan up here in this PVC panel, and I'll set it up with a thermal switch. So basically when it gets over 30 degrees, the extractor fan turns on, keeps running until the temperature goes below 30 and then turns off. That way the temperature will be regulated quite nicely. It will stop it getting too hot, and also with the extra airflow pulling out all the hot humid air, it should keep the humidity down, and I'll have to rely quite a little bit less on the dehumidifier. And when it comes to lighting in here, the only lighting, to be honest, is this here, which is completely useless. I turn it on, it looks quite ugly as well. It's just a random light bulb. I can put different light bulbs in here, but they're all going to look quite ugly because there's no real nice lamp fitting or anything. So I think what I'll probably do is up here, this is the eaves of the house up here, because this is an extension built after the house was built. I've got this wooden beam up here which I can attach stuff to, and I've also got this old fascia board from the house I can attach things to. So I'll probably put a strip light up there of LEDs or something like that. And then when you're standing here, you won't be able to see the strip light, and it will just kind of reflect off the wall. That should look quite nice, and give a nice long even light instead of having that harsh light that we'll be getting from that bulb over there. So I think that'll look a lot nicer. So that's something I'm hoping to do, wiring it into the electrics there. Other thing I would quite like to do is actually put some grow lamps in here. So there's quite a few places they could be fixed. There's a lot of these PVC beams which I could attach things to. So I'm thinking that's what I might do in the future. Put some grow lamps in. The light levels in here are great during the summertime, but come winter time, because we have such dark winters here in Scotland, the light level is going to be really poor for the plants. And normally what happens in my house plants is they just completely stop growth over the winter time, and I just kind of put them in a hibernation state for 2 or 3 months, keeping them cold, quite dry, with very little light, and just trying to get them to survive through the winter. But if I can get some grow lamps in here, I can keep their growth going. This will be particularly important for things like my orchids, which don't really like going completely dormant and don't like the cold temperatures. So I'll look into that later on in the year. I'll probably be able to put some grow lights up. And I also want to put a few more blinds in as well, because it's handy to be able to film without having the neighbours in the background. And also, if I have grow lamps in the winter, I don't want the light to be really bright and kind of illuminating the whole garden, because that cause issues with the neighbours. So what I'll probably do is I'll get a couple more blinds. This did come with quite a few blinds, as you can see, and they're not in very good condition because I think they're original from the 1990 when this was built. So the plastic is quite perished, and every time I use it, it feels like it's going to snap. So I think I will probably replace these at some point. But for now, I'll use the existing blinds, get a couple of new ones as well. That way I can lower the blinds, put on the grow lamps, and it's not a big issue. But that's a job for later in the year. It's not an issue at the moment, really. So all the plants I've put in here so far have done really well. I won't give you a big tour of the plants at the moment because the video would be too long, basically. But at the moment they're looking really good. A lot of good growth. I have had some aphid outbreaks, but the aphid outbreaks have mostly been dealt with now. But it does seem to be a really good growing environment. Certainly much better than my previous growing environment that I had on my windowsills in my last flat. The light levels, as I say, in this conservatory are really good. So cacti and tropical plants that like a lot of light will do really well in here. The only plants that won't do so well are plants that like lower light levels. So for example, my orchids have been suffering. They're down there at the moment. I put them in this corner because it gets the least amount of light, because the sun comes from the south. So the sun shines down like this, and it's kind of sheltered by that PVC there. But when it comes to plants like orchids or foliage plants that don't like a lot of sunlight or a lot of light levels, I'll probably have to grow them inside somewhere on a windowsill. But the vast majority of my plants, they do actually benefit from high light levels. So they'll be going in here, and I should expect some much better growth than what I've had previously. Also with the temperature, it gets so hot in here in the summer when it's sunny. They get really nice tropical conditions with 30 degrees. Like as I say, I can keep the temperatures about 20 degrees at night during the summer, which is a really good temperature. So I can really mimic what the plants would have in the native environment, which is high humidity, temperatures around 30 in the day, 20 at night, which most houseplants like. So they're going to grow really nicely. And so I'm looking forward to some good growth for my houseplants. It'll be interesting to come winter, see what it's like, because it's not very well insulated, and when it doesn't get the heat from the sunshine, it's not going to have that benefit of storing up the heat from this wall and then releasing it during the night. So I think, to be honest, in the winter time, I will have to keep the temperature probably around about 5 or 10 degrees in here. I could keep it hotter, I could keep it up in the 20s, but then my fuel bill would be extortionate, and I don't really want to pay hundreds or thousands of pounds in heating bills, but also it's gas as well. I don't want to create huge amounts of CO2 from burning loads of gas to keep this place warm. So in summer, almost no heating whatsoever. If there's a cold night, the heating might go on just to keep it above 20. In winter, I'm going to heat it, but as I say, just keep it quite a low level. Put most of my plants into a semi-dormant state, which most of my plants are subtropical, so they should do okay. Any other plants that do like it a bit warmer, such as the orchids or my anthurium, I'm going to keep them inside the house during the winter time so that they don't get too cold. So that's all for this conservatory tour. I'm really excited about it. I've never had a conservatory before, and I've always wanted one, and it's just a fantastic space for growing plants. Loads of light, lots of warmth, lots of humidity, really good conditions for growing plants, so they should do nicely. So I'll give you guys an update on the conservatory probably in a month or two's time. By then I'm hoping to have got the new flooring in and maybe be starting to do the kind of staging at the edge for storing the plants and having them a little bit raised. But it's going to be quite a long process. There's lots to do in this conservatory, such as cleaning, new blinds, lighting, ventilation, humidity systems. So there's a lot to do here, but once it's all done, it should be a perfect growing environment, and my houseplants should do extra well for it.